Alright, so chi-square is another statistic that we look at in our um, crosstabs. It's not seen in correlations, but it is seen in crosstabs. And chi-square for us would be considered an inferential statistic. Okay. And this statistic will allow us to then say what we found in our sample, we can then infer that to a larger population. So that's what an inferential statistic does. It says that not only did we find it in our sample statistic, which is for us in that crosstab, that gamma or that lambda, but we also can infer what we found in our sample to the larger population. All right, and that is what you ultimately would like to do for all of these things. All right. So in terms of the chi-square, sorry, in terms of the chi-square, um, the minimum value of a chi-square is 0, but it has no maximum value. All right. It also does not show strength or direction. It only is if the statistic is significant, then you argue that then you can infer the findings from the sample to the population. Its significance is affected by sample size. So the larger sorry, the larger your sample size is, will make chi-square significant. So and that's why the sample statistic is very important, because if the sample statistic is not significant, then it doesn't, regardless of the fact that the chi-square is significant, it doesn't matter, because the sample statistic first must be significant, because it is not affected by sample size before you can then infer that relationship to the population. Degrees of freedom should be reported for chi-square, and degrees of freedom relates to the number of columns and rows that you have in a contingency table. And again, all of this will come together once we actually look at a printout. But your degrees of freedom are calculated as R minus 1, R representing the rows, times C minus 1, and C represents the columns, equals your degrees of freedom. So if you have a contingency table that has 3 rows and 2 columns, then your degrees of freedom will equal 2. All right, and you report the degrees of freedom when you report the chi-square. And I just want to let you know where that comes from. And again, you're not calculating any of these things. You're just basically asking SPSS for them. But you need to kind of know where these things come from. All right.